अब आते हैं हम लोग विच अमेंडमेंट लोअर द वोटिंग एज 21 to 18 ईयर्स तो 61st अमेंडमेंट 1988 अमेंडेड आर्टिकल 326 यूनिवर्सल एडल्ट सफरेज नाउ बिगन्स एट 18 ईयर्स इंस्टेड ऑफ 21 44th रिवर्स इमरजेंसी चेंजेस जैसे रीस्टोर्ड आर्टिकल 21 इस सेक्टर 42nd सोशलिस्ट सेकुलर और डीपीएसपी को स्ट्रेंथन किया गया फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज़ को लाया गया स्वर्ण सिंह कमेटी के आधार पर ये किया गया था 24th अमेंडमेंट मेड प्रेसिडेंट्स असेंट मैंडेटरी फॉर अमेंडमेंट बिल्स which constitution amendment act reduced the voting age from 21 to 18 61st amendment amended article 326 of the constitution lowered the voting age for Lok Sabha and state assembly election from 21 to 18 years came into effect on 21 March 1980 28 March 1989 to increase objective to increase youth participation in electoral processes make democracy more inclusive and reflective of demographic reality 62nd amendment extended reservation of seats for SC ST in legislature 10-year extension 63rd repealed the 59th amendment which allowed suspension of article 21 during emergency in Punjab 66th amendment added land reform laws to 9th schedule अब आते हैं हम लोग 42nd अमेंडमेंट 1976 में हुआ की प्रोविजन सोशलिस्ट सेकुलर 10 ड्यूटीज कर्टेल जुडिशियरी 44th अमेंडमेंट 1978 में हुआ रिवर्स्ड इमरजेंसी चेंजेस राइट टू लाइफ स्ट्रेंथेंड फिर 39th अमेंडमेंट ईयर 1975 इलेक्शन ऑफ टॉप ऑफिसर्स बियॉन्ड जुडिशियल रिव्यू लेटर रिपेल्ड 99th अमेंडमेंट 2014 NGSC declared unconstitutional by Supreme Court in 2015. 86th Amendment 2002 में 11 fundamental duty plus right to education Article 21A. By which constitutional amendment was the voting age reduced to 18 years in 1989? 61st constitutional amendment by which constitutional amendment did Delhi become a national capital region 69th amendment के बाद 1991 में gave Delhi the status of national capital territory inserted article 239AA created a legislative councils of ministers for Delhi lieutenant governor appointed as a constitutional head This amendment did not convert Delhi into NCR, but it is commonly associated with the changes of Delhi's governance and official recognition as National Capital Territory. NCR as a region is defined in the first schedule and further governed under NCR Planning Board Act 1985. 66th Constitutional Land Reform and 9th Schedule से related है 17th related to representation of union territories in Rajya Sabha. By which amendment had Delhi had become national capital region? 69th amendment made Delhi a union territory with special status, national capital territory. Delhi's inclusion in the national capital region was operationalized under NCR Planning Board Act 1985. Which amendment converts union territory of Delhi into national capital region? तो 69th amendment repetition of concept अच्छा 69th constitutional amendment provided constitutional backing to Delhi's quasi state structure union territory with elected government. The 79th amendment of the Indian Constitution is related to reservation of SC ST in Lok Sabha and state assemblies elections. 79th Constitutional Amendment Act 1999 extended reservation of seat for SC ST and Anglo-Indian for another 10 years. Amended Article 334 and 331. Originally, reservation was provided for 10 years only by the Constitution until 1960, but extended repeatedly by 23rd 1969 में, फिर 45th अमेंडमेंट 1980 में, 62nd अमेंडमेंट 1989, 79th 1999, 95 2009 और 104 अमेंडमेंट 2019 में। Central state relations handled under Article 245 to 263 and Sarkaria Commission. Two political parties, no amendment addressed party system directly. Fundamental rights, Part 3, major changes in 44th and 42nd Amendment. Which constitutional amendment makes provision for reservation of seats of SC/ST in Lok Sabha and state assemblies? तो 79th amendment 10-year extension of SC/ST seat reservation. 93rd constitutional amendment deals with the free and compulsory education for all children between age of 16 and 14 years. 93rd constitutional amendment bill led to the 86th constitutional amendment act 2002. जो एक्ट आया था 86th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 2002, उसी को इसने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनलाइज कर दिया. इट इंसर्टेड आर्टिकल 21A इनटू पार्ट 3 फंडामेंटल राइट. द स्टेट shall provide free and compulsory education to all children of the age of 6 to 14 years. It amended Article 45 DPSP, changed to emphasize early childhood care for 0 to 6 years. Article 51A के fundamental duties made its duty for parents to send their children to school. Under Article 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002 में. The 93rd Constitutional Amendment Bill led to the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act 2002. जो 93rd Constitutional Bill था वही 86th Constitutional Amendment Act बना. 2002 में. क्या क्या जुड़ा इसमें? फंडामेंटल राइट्स में भी जुड़ा एजुकेशन, आर्टिकल 21A के अकॉर्डिंग पार्ट 3 ऑफ द फंडामेंटल राइट. ठीक. आर्टिकल 45 DPSP में चेंज टू एम्फसाइज अर्ली चाइल्डहुड केयर फॉर 0 to 6 years. और आर्टिकल 51A के फंडामेंटल ड्यूटी मेड इट ए ड्यूटी ऑफ पेरेंट्स टू सेंड देयर चिल्ड्रन टू स्कूल. मतलब ये पेरेंट्स की भी ड्यूटी है कि वो अपने बच्चे को स्कूल भेजें. ठीक है. तो ये तीनों में है, ड्यूटी भी है, DPSP भी है और फंडामेंटल राइट भी है. रिजर्वेशन फॉर बैकवर्ड क्लासेस इन जॉब्स related to 77th, 81st, 85th, 93rd amendment, but 93rd amendment 2005 was for educational institution, not jobs. ये देखिए बिल की बात कर रहा है, एक्ट की बात नहीं कर रहा है, बिल की बात कर रहा है. बिल लाना और फिर उसको वो जब पार्लियामेंट और प्रेसिडेंट उसको एसेंट दे देते हैं तब वो एक्ट होता है. फ्री एंड कंपल्सरी एजुकेशन वाया 86th अमेंडमेंट रूटेड इन आर्टिकल 21A. वुमेन इन रिजर्वेशन इन गवर्नमेंट रिक्रूटमेंट, नो स्पेसिफिक अमेंडमेंट एट करेंटली was proposed under Women Reservation Bill 2023. Allocation of more seats to new states related to Schedule 1 and 2 changes, not 93rd. ये डिलिमिटेशन काउंसिल जब मामला होगा तब देखा जाएगा. Right to education introduced through 86th amendment came into force in 2010. 2009 में तो ये बना था. 86th Amendment Act 2002 inserted Article 21A, however implemented required a law which came into the form of right of children to free and compulsory education Act 2009. RTE Act came into force in 1st April 2010. This gave statutory force to the constitutional provision. Through this amendment, did a right to education became a fundamental right. ठीक. 86th constitutional amendment के वजह से added Article 21A fundamental right to education. Article 45 now covers age 0 to 6 मतलब early care. Article 51A के duty of parents to send children to school. First Amendment related to land reforms and reasonable restrictions on freedom of speech. 42nd Amendment known for mini constitution. ठीक. 44th Amendment related to restoration of Article 21 protection. 86th Amendment. Which amendment inserted Article 21A providing right to education? So 86th Amendment. Which amendment inserted Article 21A providing right to education? 86th Amendment. Article 21A was newly inserted under Part 3 of the Constitution. It guarantees free and compulsory education for all children aged 6 to 14 years in such manner as state may by law determine. India fulfilled part of its UNESCO Education for All and SDG Goal 4 targets via these amendments. SDG 4 यानी कि ये एजुकेशन से रिलेटेड है. ठीक है. देखिए आर्टिकल 21A, ठीक, आर्टिकल 45 और आर्टिकल 51A के राइट टू एजुकेशन से रिलेटेड है. तो 45 में 0 to 6 ईयर्स के लिए अर्ली चाइल्डहुड केयर. आर्टिकल 21A मतलब राइट टू एजुकेशन क्या है? फंडामेंटल राइट है. और आर्टिकल 51A के क्या बताता है कि पेरेंट्स जो हैं अपने बच्चे को भेजे पढ़ने के लिए. SDG 4 से रिलेटेड है और यूनेस्को का एजुकेशन फॉर ऑल प्रोग्राम के तहत ये लाया गया. 52nd अमेंडमेंट 1985 एंटी डिफेक्शन 10th शेड्यूल जोड़ा गया. 58th अमेंडमेंट 1987 ऑथराइज्ड हिंदी वर्जन ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. प्रेसिडेंट क्या कर सकते हैं? अब हिंदी वर्जन वाला मामला लॉन्च कर सकते थे. 61st अमेंडमेंट 1988 लोवर्ड वोटिंग एज फ्रॉम 21 to 18. 99th अमेंडमेंट 2014 NGAC struck down in 2015. 91st Amendment 2003 Council of Ministers size limit and anti-defection in strengthening. 15% से ज़्यादा नहीं हो सकते थे और एंटी डिफेक्शन को और स्ट्रेंथन किया गया. राइट टू एजुकेशन हैज़ बीन इंक्लूडेड एज फंडामेंटल राइट बाय 86th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट और 93rd बिल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट बिल में लाया गया था. ठीक. और ये पास हुआ 86th कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 2002 के मतलब उसमें. अब फिर ये 2009 में राइट टू एजुकेशन बिल लाया गया और 1 अप्रैल 2010 से इसे लागू कर दिया गया. 93rd अमेंडमेंट 2005 इनेबल रिजर्वेशन इन प्राइवेट एंड एडेड एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन फॉर, ये एक्ट की बात हो रहा है, फॉर सुप्रीम कोर्ट scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and OBCs under Article 15(5). 71st Amendment 1992 added Nepali, Konkani and Manipuri. नमक इसको कह सकते हैं. नेपाली, मणिपुरी and Konkani to the 8th schedule. 103rd Amendment 2019 introduced EWS reservation. 10% इन एजुकेशन और जॉब्स। 86th अमेंडमेंट सही है। 103rd में रिजर्वेशन आया था EWS के लिए। Which amendment bifurcated SC and ST commissions into two bodies? Which amendment bifurcated SC and ST commission? 89th amendment. Before 2003, Article 338 deal with single commission for SC and ST. ठीक, लेकिन 89th amendment Act 2003 के बाद क्रिएटेड टू सेपरेट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडीज। कौन कौन सी? SC के लिए आर्टिकल 338 और ST के लिए आर्टिकल 338A। पहले वो एक ही बॉडी में थी, अब ये क्या हो गए? अलग अलग बॉडीज हो गई। 42nd एडेड न्यू DPSPs, कर्व्ड जुडिशियरी, इंसर्टेड 10 फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज। 44th रीस्टोर्ड राइट्स पोस्ट इमरजेंसी। 89 93rd reservation in private unaided educational institutions. Which of the following constitutional amendment act seeks that the size of the council of ministers at the center and in a state must not exceed 15% of the total members of the number of the members of the Lok Sabha and the total number of the members of the Legislative Assembly of that state? To 91st amendment. 91st Constitutional Amendment Act 2003 introduced a crucial limitation on the size of Council of Ministers at both center and state levels. The amendment provides that the Council of Ministers in both center and states shall not exceed 15% of the total number of members of the Lok Sabha at the center and Legislative Assembly of the respective state. This amendment was aimed at reducing excessive size of government and strengthening anti-defection laws. 93rd introduced reservation in private unaided educational institution for SC, ST and OBC. 95th amendment extended reservation for Anglo-Indian community in Lok Sabha and Legislative Assembly until 2020. लेकिन फिर क्या हुआ? 104th में एंग्लो इंडियन के लिए हटा दिया गया। 97th amendment focused on strengthening cooperative society and their inclusion in the constitution. तो आर्टिकल 9A अरे आर्टिकल 11A, हाँ आर्टिकल 11A जो आया वो पार्ट 11A ये कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटीज़ के लिए है। 91st अमेंडमेंट ऑफ द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन प्रोवाइड सीलिंग ऑफ द साइज ऑफ काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स, यानी कि 15% से ज़्यादा नहीं और 12% से कम नहीं रह सकते। The 91st Amendment especially limits the number of ministers, including the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. The amendment limits the Council of Ministers at the state and center to 15% of the respective total number of Lok Sabha members, centers and state legislative members. This provision was aimed to reducing the size of cabinet, improving governance and curbing unnecessary political appointments. ठीक है। Enhancement of seat in Lok Sabha नहीं। This pertains enhancement of seats in Lok Sabha. This pertains to a different constitutional amendment related to delimitation. Bifurcation of National Council of SC ST ये हुआ था 89th amendment 2003 या 2 में हुआ था, 3 में 2003 में हुआ था। इसमें क्या हुआ? 238 आर्टिकल 238 के तहत SC और आर्टिकल 239A के तहत ST. By which of the following constitutional amendment the number of central ministers has been limited to 15% of the total number of members of Lok Sabha? तो ये हुआ था 91st amendment में। 91st amendment 2003 directly addresses the size of the council of ministers at both center and state levels, specifically restricting the numbers of ministers. The key feature of this amendment is that the council of ministers, including prime ministers and chief ministers, can't exceed 15% of the total members in Lok Sabha and state legislative assemblies. ठीक, this limitation came after a political consensus that the size of cabinet should be rationalized to ensure efficient functioning and reduce excessive number of non-productive ministers. ठीक है। फर्स्ट अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 1951 में आर्टिकल 15(4) reservation in education and jobs. Article 45 1980 extended reservation for SC, ST and Anglo-Indians till 1990. फिर 60 to 1989 extended till 2000. फिर 79 1999 extended till 2010. 95th आया 2009 में extended till 2020. फिर आया 104 2019 में removed Anglo-Indian nomination, continued SC ST reservation till 2030. First, 45th, 62nd, 79th, 95th, 104th. ठीक है. Which of the following amendment of the Indian Constitution limits the size of Union Ministry to 91st Amendment? ठीक है. 91st Constitutional Amendment 2003 imposes a ceiling on the size of Union Ministry at 15% of the total number of the members in Lok Sabha. This reform was introduced to curb the excessive growth of the cabinet and bring discipline in the size of the executive. 91st Amendment set the 15% cap. 78th Amendment related to delimitation and reservation in legislative assemblies. 88th Amendment focused on taxation and service tax provision. 19th Amendment deal with family planning provisions. 61st में क्या हुआ? Voting is reduced to 18. Article 326. 66th Amendment land reform laws added to 9th schedule. 69th दिल्ली जो है नेशनल कैपिटल टेरिटरी बनी आर्टिकल 329A के अकॉर्डिंग. ठीक. Article 17th UTs represented in Rajya Sabha. 79th reservation of SC ST Anglo-Indian extended. 104th Anglo-Indian reservation continued SC ST till 2030. By which constitutional amendment OBCs have been given 27% reservation in admission to educational institutions? To 93rd Amendment. The 93rd Constitutional Amendment Act 2005 added Article 15(5) to the Constitution, providing reservation for OBCs in admission to educational institutions, both private and government. This amendment also applies to admission to central universities and various other educational institutions funded by the government, private or public दोनों में. This was a landmark decision aimed to improving access to education for OBC and promoting social equality. It was seen as a move to ensure affirmative action and counter historical discrimination in educational access. The 97th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2012 is concerned with organization and working of cooperative societies. Organization and working of cooperative societies. 93rd जो है OBCs को लेकर था. 97th ऑर्गेनाइजेशन वर्किंग ऑफ कोऑपरेटिव्स. 91st जो था वो मतलब 15% जो रिजर्वेशन, मतलब 15% से अधिक मंत्रिमंडल नहीं होना चाहिए टोटल मेंबर्स के, और 12% से कम नहीं होना चाहिए. 97th Amendment of 2012 gave constitutional status to cooperative societies and making the formation, management and operation subject to provision. अच्छा, under 9B मैं 9 या 11A कह दिया था, सॉरी उसको, लेकर 9A part 9B. This amendment ensured that cooperative societies were better governed and the state would provide regulation for them, ensuring transparency and accountability. The cooperative movement plays a significant role in India's rural economy, especially in sectors like agriculture, credit and milk production. India's rural एग्रीकल्चर क्रेडिट और मिल्क प्रोडक्शन को लेकर मामला था, ठीक है. बाई विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग एमेंडमेंट ऑफ द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन द टर्म कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी वाज एडेड इन आर्टिकल 19(1)(c)? तो वो था 97th अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 2011. ये कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी क्या है? कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटीज अब हमारे फंडामेंटल राइट्स में भी हैं. और ठीक है, 97th Amendment Act of 2011 added cooperative societies as fundamental right under Article 19(1)(c), which allows Indian citizens to form cooperative societies. This act gave cooperatives a constitutional status under Part 9B, which focuses on structure, functioning and regulation of cooperative society in India. यानी कि Part 9B और Part 3 दोनों में है अपना cooperative society. Cooperative plays a major role in agriculture, जैसे milk production, milk cooperatives like Amul, credit system and saving groups, providing an alternative model to traditional banking and trade. According to the Article 243(j) of the Indian Constitution, maximum number of directors of cooperative societies can be 21 members ही हो सकते हैं cooperative, मतलब as director 21 ही हो सकते हैं. Article 243(j) is a part of 9B of the Constitution, which was added by 97th Constitutional Amendment Act 2011. It deals with composition of the board of directors in cooperative societies. The number of directors shall not exceed 21. However, the state legislature may prescribe the number within that limit. It also mandates the reservation of one seat each for SC, ST and women on the board of every cooperative societies. मतलब हर कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी में SC, ST और वोमेन के लिए मेंबरशिप रहना जरूरी है. The inclusion of cooperative society in the constitution gave them constitutional protection and recognition. However, in 2021, the Supreme Court struck down parts of the 97th Amendment relating to state cooperative societies due to lack of ratification by half of the state required for change in state list. अच्छा, कुछ चीज़ों को सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने स्ट्रक डाउन कर दिया था, ठीक है. 100th Constitutional Amendment Act 2015 was brought for exchange of territories between India and Bangladesh. What is not true in reference to this? Under this, India transferred 51 enclaves to Bangladesh, whereas Bangladesh transferred 101 enclaves to India. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं था. इंडिया ने ज़्यादा दिया था, बांग्लादेश ने कम दिया था. 100th Constitutional Amendment Act 2015 operationalized the India-Bangladesh Land Boundary Agreement 1974. Actual transfer, India transferred 111 enclaves to Bangladesh and Bangladesh transferred 51 enclaves to India. The amendment enabled exchange of enclaves, cheat mahals, demarcation of 6.1 kilometer of the undemarcated boundary, affected areas in West Bengal, Assam, Meghalaya and Tripura. वेस्ट बंगाल, असम, मेघालय, त्रिपुरा. चार स्टेट्स अफेक्ट हुए थे. कौन कौन से? वेस्ट बंगाल, असम, मेघालय, त्रिपुरा. और this amendment was held for resolving a long-standing humanitarian crisis affecting over 50,000 people living in no man's land type situation. Which constitutional amendment act provides for गुड्स एंड सर्विसेज टैक्स जीएसटी, तो 101st कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट एक्ट 2016. 101st amendment was enacted to introduce GST, a single indirect tax system replacing multiple taxes like VAT, service tax, excise, etc. Came into effect on 1st July 2017. 1st July 2017 में ये आया था. It added Article 246A, 269A, 279A and amended several articles including 366(12)A. It also led the creation of GST Council under Article 279A. 98th Amendment related to judicial appointment in Bengaluru civil courts, not GST. 100th Amendment related to India-Bangladesh land exchange. 101st GST. GST is a dual tax structure, जैसे CGST collected by center, SGST या UT GST collected by states, UTs, IGST collected on inter-state interactions. तो ये क्या है? डुअल स्ट्रक्चर टैक्स है. 3 तरीके के टैक्स वसूले जाते हैं, एक सेंटर द्वारा, एक स्टेट द्वारा, और फिर एक IGST इंटर स्टेट ट्रांजैक्शन. फिर मतलब होता है IGST कलेक्टेड ऑन इंटर स्टेट ट्रांजैक्शंस. ठीक है. बाकी हम लोग अगले में करते हैं. ठीक. थैंक यू. बाय बाय.